Konami Studios. Shadow and Bone. That's the title. I always call it City of Bone, but it's the title, Shadow and Bone. This is the latest multi-million dollar endeavor from Netflix based on the Grishaverse, which is a series of novels. I looked up the novels. There's like 8 of them. No, 10? There's 4 in them, like the main storyline with like Elena Starkov. There's 2 with like Brecker. Okay. There's a lot of novels in the Grishaverse. That's all I know. But it's the latest thing from Netflix. And it's very formulaic in its portrayal. But that's not a bad thing. Like, formulaic can work sometimes. But for this one, there's enough there to keep you engrossed, but there's also some things where, like, I know where this is going, to the point where, should I even watch it if I know where it's going? Like, it's not doing anything new for me. Like, the cinematography, I will say, actually impressed me with this property, because I'm like, oh, this could easily have just been, like, a Divergent, but with, like, X-Men powers, but it didn't become that. It became, like, Game of Thrones of X-Men powers, and I say X-Men powers because, like, it's like the mutants have powers and like you're born with it, and then you like bleed a different color or something, and then you either wear like a nice jacket of a certain color to show your powers, and you live in a palace and you train to fight in a war, and there's like a big cloud of fog that if you go inside you could be attacked by a dragon. And then like there's one girl, Elena, who has like the ability to like break the fog because she's the bone. And then like there's the guy played by Ben Barnes who's the shadow, and it's like the shadow and bone, the light and the dark. I think that's what the thing's about. I really don't know because I didn't finish it. Like, I got where it was going pretty much right away. And when I know where it's going and it didn't keep me invested to that point, I'm just like, I see. You're doing great. There's an audience for this kind of stuff. I think the audience for this isn't the same people that it's targeted towards. I think like this is trying to be like Netflix's Game of Thrones. It's certainly not going to be that. I think the audience it's actually going to get are people who like YA stuff, and that's fine. You can do your YA thing and you can make a ton of money doing YA, but don't pretend you're like mature when you are pretty much just focusing on like a weird love triangle that shouldn't exist, and like class status in a really unmature way where it's just very cookie cutter and formulaic instead of being deep and emotional and have like a resonating factor to it. You're just doing some basic stuff. And you know what? I didn't read the book, so I don't know if that's what the book is, or if like somewhere it gets lost in translation, because I don't want to like attack the book, because I get it. Novels you can do so much more with, and it's easier to like get in depth and crazy in a novel and focus on more stuff character-wise, story-wise, world-building-wise. And when you translate that to something that's supposed to be appealing to all audiences, you lose part of that flavor and that fun. But from what I saw, it just didn't connect with anything I liked, you know, like it focuses on a bunch of different characters that you clearly see where like they're typecast from. Maybe typecast is the wrong word, but you're like, okay, here's the wealthy businessman who's got a limp, but he's young and he's hungry and he's fresh. And here's like the silent foreign looking girl who's very like ninja-like, that's not a word, ninja-like and angelic, I guess is what I should have said there. Then you got like the weird sexy cowboy dude who's like kind of like bi-curious. Like, it's not different than anything else of the genre, and that's something that sucks, because you're given a really interesting world. You know, you got like your warring factions, you got this idea of like class status and how these certain people can be better than different people, but you're focusing on like a bunch of 20-somethings who like all want to kiss and hug each other, and it's just like, why bog it down with that? You have interesting enough characters where you can focus on that stuff, but not have it like, oh man, here's the Liam Hemsworth character trying to get with Katniss, but she wants to get with this other guy. What was his name in the Hunger Games? I don't even know. It's just the love triangle stuff. It's boring. Just like being obsessed in love in someone in that way in this world, it's weird. And you just focus on some of like the wrong stuff. What I will say though about a positive for this, the set design is incredible. Like it feels very built and very like just full of itself. There's so much world and vibrancy to it that it actually feels like something like this exists, and it doesn't look like a cheap production set, which some other Netflix properties do. So I like that a lot. That is very impressive. The costume design too, very impressive. Like you did a really good thing of looking regal enough, but also like superhero-y enough where there's like a mix of the two. So the people with powers actually look like they could be formidable and still look practical. That's kind of exciting. I think that's impressive. Like I said at the beginning too, I think the cinematography impressed me. Like there's certain actual movements with the camera when things come in and focus and out of focus and the way the camera moves where I'm like, this actually is really artsy and beautiful. If only it wasn't about like some girls realizing she's the chosen one and then having to choose between the pretty boy who's kind of dark and the hunter boy who kind of likes her. If it wasn't about that, there could actually be some good story here. And if we didn't like focus on some of the other characters, it would have been a little more interesting. Again, the characters are a big problem. You know, Alana, was it Starkov? I said at the beginning, it's Alana Starkov, right? She's an okay lead. Like, I don't think as a character she is bad. She's just kind of just like formulaic. We've seen her a million times in other like roles like this where it's like the one girl who's going to change the world. There's nothing wrong with that if you like that thing, but if you've seen it a million times before, suddenly it loses its momentum. And you're just like, okay, we get it, sweetie. Go save the day. We know you're going to. And Ben Barnes, again, he's been given a lot of chances, and I don't think that's a bad thing. The guy's talented. He actually can act here, but he's just playing like that brooding, handsome man, and it's just kind of annoying. You just think like, okay, the stuff with him, I predicted like episode 2, so I wasn't that blown away by what he actually set out to do. It's like, yeah, we get it. I know what you're going to be. We've seen Star Wars. It's not Star Wars, but he's Kylo Ren-ish, kind of. That kind of, yeah, whatever. It's just obvious. And I think that's the word I'd use. Like, it's obviously what's going on here. Like, it didn't surprise me at any turn. And you know what? It doesn't have to surprise me, because I know there's some audience out there, namely the people who like this kind of stuff, that still get surprised by these big twists and turns. But if you've read enough books like I have, if you've seen enough shows like I have, if you've been engrossed in the YA world, I mean, I haven't been engrossed that badly, but I still know the beats when I see them, and I still understand the world it's building up. But I think if you take away the annoying 20-something leads and you were actually to put in like maybe like a war vet of some sort in that world, a little bit older and gruffer, and figure out maybe as a more mature person, like you could easily, I don't know, maybe do it kind of just like the lone wolf and cub thing where you got like an older gruffer person training the person who is going to be the goddess of the light or something, instead of just making like a handsome dude who wants to kiss her and like seduce her. That's predictable. But there's certain elements in there that you can focus on and make it a compelling story. I'd like to see that happen. I think maybe if this continues, if we do get a season 2 of this, we could see the world expanded in a more interesting way. The stuff with like the fog, I think they called it the fold in this, where you go inside there and it's like a bunch of monsters and stuff. That's kind of exciting. The way that we see like the world try to get through that and past that, that's very cool. I think that's a really interesting angle to play up that if they spent more time on, I'd be more impressed with. But from what we saw, it wasn't that impressive, and the characters will get on your nerves very quick if you are like, if you've seen enough of these, they're just gonna be like, okay, I get it, I know who you are, you're not gonna add anything, why should I care? And that sucks, because it's a good world. I mean, I commend the writer of the books. Like, this is actually well thought out, well created. As somebody who wants to be a writer myself, I'd like to do something like this, you know, just build like an actual world that feels realistic in the way it's set up, whereas it's like one manifested area is bad, but the rest of the world kind of operates as it does. And we got these people with their powers. How would the world treat those? That makes sense to me. The rest of it, it's iffy. And again, Elena, probably the best lead. Every other supporting character is very predictable and cliche that you don't care enough about their story to really invest in it. And if you like it, that's great. I hope you do, because we should always have more stuff that people like, and that's great. But this one, to me, it just hit way too many formulaic beats to actually have some resonating factor. That happens. That is a lot of stuff. We'll get past it, because, again, I'm probably not the target audience. I don't need to be. It's fine. So, Shadow and Bone, Season 1. If we get a Season 2, I'll come back and talk about it. But Season 1, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff. But I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.